being true to your health is, in my opinion, the highest level of discipline and respect you can pay to yourself.
So talking about health and all, are there any things that you do from a health point of view?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So,
Our guest today is one of India's most influential entrepreneurs,
A man who has mastered the art of time, money, and mindset. Ankur Warikoo.
with millions following his wisdom on business, investing, and self growth,
He has cracked the code on balancing financial success with
with personal well being. But what fuels his discipline?
how does he plan his day?
And as someone who teaches financial independence, does he think Gen Z is getting it all wrong?
That's for you to find out. So if you have ever wondered how to plan your life like Ankur Warikoo, hit play. This one's unmissable.
My question to you is, what's your advice on saving money?
I think when it comes to money, Ryan, you don't have to complicate it. A lot of people lose track because they complicate it. They believe that money is just so critical that there must be some really magical things that the rich and famous do that we don't do. But in my experience, the biggest hesitation has simply been
Many thanks to the universe. Thank you guys, and thank you, Mr. Ankur, for doing this. Blessings to you, your family, and all the karma that you can receive for the great stuff that you do. We only get blessed by our good actions. So thank you so much for this, and I thank the creator of the universe for allowing me this opportunity to be in the same bandwidth as you right now. Hopefully, one day in the same room with you also.
you're being very, very kind, very generous. The feeling is absolutely mutual, Ryan. I'm a huge fan of the work that you do. So thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so before we get started, my team does not know this. You do not know this. But like most people say, yeah, we are a fan and all this stuff. So I want to show you. This is your book.
Oh,
Do
wow.
do epic shit. Okay. Now most people think, yeah, he's interviewing the podcast and he went and out and bought it. But this is what I want to show you. Okay. I bought this book when it's about sorry, where? So you can see I'm
Yeah.
not
No, I
reading.
see it. June 2022. Wow, nearly 3 years back.
It's
It's 12
now.
years being an entrepreneur. The epic shit has still not started. Oh,
And
that
what
is
I,
so awesome.
and what I wanted to do was actually pass this out to people to read it and get them to sign it and then pass it on to the next person.
That
Because
is.
I think this, among, if you see my book collection, it'll easily cross the cost of a Ferrari. I have that many books, but this has to take the cake because
Oh,
it's
man.
simple. And I think every youngster should get this book because I have this very famous saying in my team: all fart and no shit. So your book is like you got, and as a nutritionist, I always ask my clients, okay, we're going to go to the part about bowel movement. Now I need you to tell me, do you only pass hot air, or after passing hot air, do you evacuate your bowels completely? So in today's world, a lot of people are armchair, what do you call them? Armchair gurus, but never do anything. And this book tells you to go out and get shit done. So
Yes, exactly.
super happy
No.
to have you. Now, you're an author, but how should I address you? Entrepreneur, content creator, YouTuber, social media influencer, author, dad. What do you come with?
I, I I live all of these titles, but if you were really to ask me to pick one, I would say entrepreneur any day of my life. I think like one, I behave like one, I've been one for the longest time.
When I decided to become an entrepreneur, I think the greatest element in my body was fear.
Hmm.
Not fear of failure, fear of whether I'll be able to pay the next person's salary. And you talk a lot about money. And for me, I realized I had a nutrition clinic. People were coming for diet counseling, but I needed to create content. And I found that creating content was so difficult. Now, somebody like you, I've never seen as consistent as you in terms of YouTube creation. And it's really demanding. So, for the entrepreneurs out there who want to build a personal brand, then help their brand, how do you say true to the story of being a content creator and influencing people? Because, you know, for the first 7 years, I had absolutely nobody watching my videos. So, what's your advice?
Yeah, I love this question. I think the biggest thing is that you have to recognize content creation or trying to create a personal brand cannot be your main job or even your full-time job if you are an entrepreneur. Running your startup is your full-time job, and that's where 80-90% of your energy should go. So it's always this side gig, and what that means is you're not married to the outcome of the side gig. You don't become part of the problem. You don't invest yourself so much that suddenly the success and failure of any video going out materially impacts you, or you begin to take it to heart. What I used to do, and I started content creation, Ryan, nearly 12 years back. And this was as a startup founder when I realized that we wanted to reach out to the best talent that exists out there. And the best way to do that was to make the CEO and the founder the spokesperson for the company. So I started creating content on LinkedIn, on Quora, then a little bit of YouTube, then Insta. And it's only in 2020, in the last 5 years, when I've taken a different shape and form of that. But during the heydays when I was 10, 12 hours a day neck deep in the startup world, I had just made one promise to myself that every week I would spend 1 hour recording content. And I would record not something that the world wants to see, I'll just simply record what I want to share. Whether it's the ups and downs of being a founder, whether it's how to hire, the culture, anything that's hitting me, anything that I wish I knew when I started, but now I do. And that just became that content, and all that I had to do was just calendar it in my life, make it a recurring process, and do it dispassionately. So I didn't even see that the video would go out, or the quality of it, or the response of it, or how it was garnering views and so on. And not surprisingly, just years went by. I think 7 years. And I distinctly remember when I um, started to focus on YouTube and Instagram in a meaningful fashion in 2020, after after nearly 4 years of doing it consistently on YouTube and Insta, I had about 15,000 people on YouTube and about 17,000 people follow me on Insta, which I thought was a crazy big number. Because, like, just imagine 15,000 random people just following me with everything that I have to share. And I was really happy with it because it served the purpose of what I'd set out to do. Now it's a very different thing, but what it just sets you up is gets you into the wheel of compounding that unfortunately nobody knows how well it works until you actually see it work. Nobody can be convinced of how powerful compounding is. You can see the chart however many times you want. You can score the top marks in your stats class just repeating that graph. You can share the Warren Buffett story as many times as you want. None of that matters until you truly experience it.
If I can
And I
interject
think,
on, if I can
please,
interject
please,
on compounding, nutrition and exercise are the most valuable compounding asset, which you never see the result on day one.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm so glad that you pointed out because I'm such a believer, and I've experienced this in my life as well, that being true to your health is, in my opinion, the highest level of discipline and respect you can pay to yourself. Because there's nobody else that you can thank. There's nobody else that you can buy it from. There's nobody else that you can steal it from. There's nobody else that you can rent it from. There's nobody else that you can blame. It's the single player game, and the biggest one at that. And yeah, you're so right. So
When you're talking about this YouTube and how the law of compounding is there, any goosebump moment of meeting a fan at the airport or somewhere in your life? Do you remember something vividly that caused you to get like rocket booster energy because of that?
it was crazy. I still remember this. This was 2014, so nearly 10 years back. I am running the Delhi half marathon. And I'm not a runner, so I'm doing this for the first time in my life. So I'm in that category where 99% of the world is. Thousands of people just start running because, of course, nobody hopes in hell that they will break any record or do anything meaningful with that marathon. And I start running, and there's a guy next to me who's like, "Are you Ankur who creates content on LinkedIn?" And I was like, "Whoa." Like a complete stranger in the middle of all of those people just recognize me for something that I do randomly. And I think that was a wow moment. I still get goosebumps thinking about it.
So, speaking of marathon running, uh, so people assume that, and we get a lot of entrepreneurs today succumbing, may their soul rest in peace, to heart attacks and stuff like that, right? And I work with a lot of millionaires, billionaires clients, and you made one very valid point. You can't rent your body, you can't buy your body. In fact, I have a slogan which is your body is the most expensive real estate you will ever own.
So
It's the
true.
most expensive. Even if you buy a Lamborghini, your body is more expensive than that. So my question to you is, you run, you're an entrepreneur, you're a YouTuber, you're a podcaster, you're an author. How's your day like? What do you start? What time do you get up? So let's assume I am doing Ankur Varikoo's, sorry, Warikoo.
Very cool. Yes, very cool.
Variku. It's a very, very cool surname. Okay, so what does the Mr. Variku do from morning till evening? Wake up time, sleep time, what is breakfast, what is lunch, what is dinner? I'm now doing your nutrition feedback counseling.
I know exactly. Like I'm suddenly under pressure. So my day actually starts the last night because I think that's the most important decision you make, which is at what time do you go to bed. We are very early sleepers, so our kids go to bed at about 8:30. Ruchi, my wife, and I we are in bed by 9:30, and the last half an hour of the day is just spent reading, just catching up. And by 9:30 we're like gone. I wake up between 4:30 and 5 every day, and I have a very specific morning ritual that's truly helped me. I've followed it now for nearly 7+ years. I'll instantly drink a glass of water, and I'll use about 15 minutes to do that. So I sip it really nicely. It's warm water in Delhi winters, is not cold water in the summers, but just room temperature and so on. And I use that as what I call slow waking up. So I'm not rushing into waking up. I'm just slow and deliberate around that. Then I do 30 minutes of meditation. It has been a companion for nearly 8+ years now. I've not missed a day in 5.5 years now.
Why do you meditate?
I love observing my own thoughts. And I think meditation allows me to be a wonderful witness to my own life's journey in a way that the rest of the day isn't. So that 30 hour, I become independent of Ankur Warikoo, and I'm just observing what Ankur Warikoo is going through. All the ups and downs and the lists and blah blah blah.
I'll share something for you and your fans.
Please.
Between 3:30 and 5:30 in the morning, when you wake up or you're in that theta wave
Hmm.
of sleep. You're not really woken up at that point in the morning, but you're woken up.
Yeah.
For your hippocampus, which is the vibrational element to produce higher theta waves,
True.
and theta is your recreational, entrepreneurial, law of attraction, money to come to you, is the most powerful at that point in the morning.
Wow.
So, the one thing you can do is you can biohack it with sound, you can biohack it with flax seeds and chia seeds. You can biohack it with meditation at any
Wow.
time of the day. But in the morning, it's like putting a Bose amplifier to your theta waves. And that could explain why you're so successful.
I had no idea. Thank you for enlightening me because now it makes a lot of sense why I just love it. And I struggle to explain the power of it, but it just centers me so much that I absolutely wouldn't skip a day for that. And whether I'm traveling, whether I'm sick, it's been a constant.
And then after the meditation, about half an hour, then what do you get into?
So then I read for about half an hour. I love reading. It's a morning evening activity, and then about 6ish or so, I start getting my kids ready for school. So we split the responsibility. My job is to get them to shower and get them dressed, and then Ruchi, she's by the way left at about 5:30 to play tennis. Both of us love tennis and we follow tennis. So she's gone to play tennis, which is in the same complex. She comes back at 6:30. Then her job is to drop the kids to the bus stop, and I leave for my tennis. I play tennis for an hour, and then I go and work out for about 45 minutes. It is only strength training. I don't do any cardio because I've already done my tennis.
Can I pause you over there?
Please.
Inspiration for India. A parent that wakes up in the morning and plays tennis, your two children are watching you and your wife being healthy. Now they know no other universe accept that this is normal life. So when I grow up, I got to get up early and I got to play and I got to take care of my kids and not whine to the world. I've got kids. You think I can follow an exercise plan or diet plan? So awesome. Okay, so you come back from tennis and then wife and you having a cup of coffee
Then
together and breakfast.
no, we have so one big change that happened nearly 2 years back, Ryan, was I moved to a 16-hour fast, which has really helped me. So my only two meals in the day are at 11 and 4:30, and uh, and that's where I break my fast. So I come back home, I read the newspaper. I'm still an old-fashioned person. I love getting my news from the newspaper. I don't follow any other place for news. I think it's a cesspool in many ways.
Same here.
Uh, I love that.
I love
Exactly.
the newspaper. I can't do without it.
I know. It's just so joyful to read the paper. And then by about 9:30 or so, I'm on my desk. Then that's when I'm sitting. We work from home, both of us. We work together, by the way. My wife is my business manager, so she manages the business side while I do everything else. So we both work from home, and 9:30 I'm on my table, and so. And then about 11 is when my fast break. So I have my protein shake, I have my muesli, I have my Greek yogurt, I have my normal tofu or tempeh or whatever else that I want to have.
What's your cultural background as a culture? From where do you come in India, and what is the normal staple breakfast, and how you shifted to this? Have you seen
Yeah.
changes in your gut?
No, that's a great question. So I come from Kashmir, and Kashmir, being a mountain area, is very rice and very leafy vegetables rich, because that's frankly the only thing that grows there. And it is intensely non-vegetarian in its diet. But I'm a vegetarian by choice, so I don't get to experience that side of the cuisine at all. So it's a lot of red meat, a lot of
Vegetarian by choice, Ankur. Recently, a decade
no
back.
about I turned vegetarian when I was 17, so
What,
nearly
what
third,
was the
third.
spark? The good Lord of the universe, the Creator, came down and said,
No, you know
Jim,
what? It was a very bizarre thing. I like. So I used to love non-veg, and Kashmiri non-veg is incredible, Ryan. I don't know if you've had it.
yes, I
And
have.
my
I have a lot of Kashmiri clients, and they cook some great stuff and send it to me.
And so my grandmom used to make the most exquisite non-veg, and I was frankly addicted to it. I was just completely in love with it, to the extent that I keep challenging myself on these things. That can I let go of something that I'm addicted to? Can I
So
live without
you were
something that
testing the human animal instinct into you, and can I transcend a little higher?
absolutely? And I nearly didn't use those words or had any of those even remotely grandiose thoughts. But I was like, no, let's just see if I can leave non-veg because I love it so much, and I never got back to it.
So that's muesli breakfast kind in the morning, which is protein muesli, and it's a good wholesome protein breakfast that you've got. And then you go straight.
If you gave me freedom, because I can tell you what my weak spots are. We love South Indian as a family. So dosa, idli, sambar is absolutely something that we love, and
When you're next
frankly,
in Bangalore, we'll have the best dosa samla, low fat version. I'll get it
oh,
designed and I'll serve it to you.
I love it. I love it. I look forward to that. I look forward to that. And then the 4:30 meal, Ryan, is very. I'll have a fruit in the middle. We like. I like citrus fruits a lot. So whether
Do you
it's
do
a
any green
orange.
tea?
No, I don't do. As I said, except for water and my protein shake, I actually don't drink anything else. So we don't have any tea, no coffee, no juices, no carb drinks, nothing. Maybe an occasional nimbu pani here and there, but that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Do you get any dips in your thinking by the time
No,
afternoon comes in because you get up at four
no.
o'clock in the morning?
No. We do take because we work from home. I prefer lying down or maybe taking a quick afternoon nap in the afternoon between a 2 and a 2:33.
I highly
Uh,
endorse it.
oh yeah, now that you say it, makes so much sense. My mom, she used to insist, and insist is not like do it, do it, do it. She used to literally be like this Hitler that you
Grab
have
you
to
and put
sleep
you to
in the
sleep.
afternoon. have to sleep in the afternoon, have to sleep in the afternoon. So I grew up in that household, much like you were explaining, our kids are growing up in a household where sleeping during the afternoon was the thing to do. And I remember meeting Ruchi, and they have a very
You couldn't
active
understand why
lifestyle.
how you could sleep in the afternoon, right?
They're like, who's like,
You sleep
are
in
you
the
dead? Are you
afternoon.
like old? Are you, is there some injury? Are you sick? Like, why would you
My
sleep in the
my wife said
afternoon?
the same thing to me. I'm from Goa, and we Goans love our afternoon siesta.
Yes, yes. It's so like Pune, Goa, they
You,
thrive
you see
on the
that
thing.
green couch behind me? It's not to entertain visitors. It's for me to sleep in the afternoon.
I love that. I love that. So, so what? So I think it's a big victory for our marriage that Ruchi also tends to at least lie down with me. She never sleeps, but at least she lies down with me for that half an hour or so.
Where did you meet Ruchi?
Oh, we met in college. We were very young when we met each other. We met each other at the age of 19. We started dating at 20. We got married at 27. So we knew each other for a really long time. We've
Basically,
technically
childhood
grown up together.
sweethearts.
Yeah, yeah, just grown up together in so many ways. And then 4:30 is a normal home meal. Usually two rotis, dal, sabzi, curd. I love curd. So some form of yogurt. We have a low fat milk yogurt that comes through, and that's pretty much it. That's what the
Awesome.
diet is.
Awesome. I think whatever you're saying to me is like you're doing the correct tenets, which is the 16-hour fast. So what that does is it keeps your insulin resistance low. So sensitivity of insulin is high. What people don't understand is on a high carbohydrate, high protein diet, your thinking acumen actually slows down and you need more rest.
Yeah.
So people who are DJs are desk jockeys. They use their brain and they use their fingers. You want to be eating lesser, and that actually contributes to a longer life, a
Yeah.
healthier life, lower blood pressure, lower sugar, anti-aging, no chances of cancer for you in terms of being vegetarian. So
Yeah.
that's absolutely perfect. Um, I feel like you're sitting in my nutrition counseling room right now. But this is let me pick your brains. But before we go forward, uh, you talked about making changes in your life for nutrition and stuff like that. Now, very few people know there are few books that have influenced me to build my business. Now, in June 22, when I bought this book, I bought it at the airport, Delhi airport. I clearly remember it, and I was like, "Who the hell writes shit on a title?" I'm like, this guy's got to have guts to write it, first of all. Okay. So I was like, let me pick it up. So I picked it up and I read the first like 10 pages on the flight and I was hooked. And before I landed in Bangalore, I had read the whole book. Now, there's
Wow.
one page that I marked in it. Okay. And I want to share it with you. And this is probably the reason why Qua Nutrition today is one of the best nutrition companies with dietitians, I would like to say, in the world. 200
Wow.
of us, not funded. And I say this very proudly because a lot of entrepreneurs take a lot of money to build businesses based on spreadsheets, and many a times they are reaching for the sky, but they know that even a ladder will not get them over there. And so then the investors like, okay, we are okay if you've reached to the third fourth floor. But your book helped me go through that journey, saying that for many years everyone says, Ryan, why don't you take funding? Ryan, why don't you take funding? Ryan, why don't you take funding? And then your book flipped a switch in my head, and the exact statement is this. And now,
I'm
can I
so
read it out
intrigued
to
right
you?
now. I'm so intrigued right now. Yes, please.
Build a team so strong that somebody from outside doesn't know who the boss is. When you wrote this, what were you thinking?
Oh no, I frankly wasn't even thinking anything. This is the way that I've built organizations for the last 16 years. I I truly feel that the founder gets a lot of undue credit. Of course, one needs to be the spokesperson and the face of it, and so on. But I love not having to micromanage anyone. I love not getting into the details. I love giving somebody a task and telling them, bro, if you need me, ask me. But if you do it on your own, I'll be the happiest person. Because I think I'm very self assured. I am very self aware. So I don't run into any insecurity. Oh no, will this person get more limelight? Will they become better than me? Will they overshadow me? None of that is frankly in my radar as well. So it just becomes so easy to build organizations this way, which I'd like to believe is also the reason why people have liked working with me, because they just get this insane level of autonomy and trust that they have rarely found in other organizations they've worked with.
And I think what I personally did, if I can share with you, is that I had one of my HR heads who steered us through the pandemic.
Mhm.
And obviously, because we're a nutrition services business, it's all about people,
Yeah.
right? So I sit in a counseling room, I counsel on this table, a person sits across me, and right, great. And then you scale that up. But the HR head actually got the pulse of everyone in our organization. And I went to her in 2022 and I said, look, you're going to become the next CEO of the company. And she goes, what? And I was like, she's like, give me 1 year to get ready. I was like, you've got 1 year, but at the end of the 1 year, I am going to report into you.
You.
So
Wow.
now in 2025, just yesterday, I was like, I launched my Ryan Fernando diet app. And I was like, ma'am, the app is there. Could I do some webinars and seminars? It's going to cost us this amount of money. And she looks at me and she says, it's your company. You can do what you want. So I was like, no, 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 no. Now you are the boss. You have to tell me
Yeah.
whether I'm making a mistake or not. So
Exactly.
decoupling, and that came out of this, which was I'm telling you,
Wow.
every kid out there who's lost needs to read this book because it echoes with our current generation. So that's amazing. Now
That's
you talk a lot about money, and a lot of people work for me and work for you, and they work for us, Ankur, because of money, right? And in our entrepreneurial roles, we provide employment, we provide people opportunity also. So my thought process is that so I want to take two parts. Okay, one, financially as an expert, you talked about compounding already, right? In your investments in today's day and age, let's say this podcast is going to be out there for the next 5 years, 2025 to 2030, AI is come in. People might be losing their jobs, they might get redundant, so they'll have to upskill. um, what's your advice on saving money, pooling in money, being safe about it? That's part one of my question. And part two about the question, which you are already doing personally, is the health investment.
Mm.
So these are two parts: financial investment, health
Sure.
investments. Could you give me
Sure.
like some of the epic shit gyan that you do give us?
Absolutely. I think when it comes to money, Ryan, you don't have to complicate it. A lot of people lose track because they complicate it. They believe that money is just so critical that there must be some really magical things that the rich and famous do that we don't do. And that's why we'll always be at a disadvantage. But in my experience, the biggest hesitation has simply been the lack of awareness that money is simple. Money is
Say
simple
that
in the
again.
sense
The lack of money.
the lack of awareness that money is simple. Money is
Lack of.
actually very simple to deal with. What I
Okay.
mean by that is, let's say you were to draw 100 rupees as a salary. The way
Okay.
you have to think about this is, where is my money going and is it going in the right directions? So there is a rule called the 50-30-20 rule. It's a very oversimplified rule, but a very powerful rule at that. What it says is, if you have 100 rupees as you're earning every month, allocate 50 rupees to your needs. And these are things that you have to mandatorily spend on. So your rent, your EMIs, your food, your utilities, anything that you need to spend life, you have to spend irrespective of whether there's money coming in or not. 30% goes towards your desires, your wants, because there's no point trying to save up for a future but not having the health or the time to enjoy it. So you should enjoy it right now as well. So you want to buy a phone, you want a vacation, you want to buy that car, blah, 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 30% towards that. And then 20% towards your future self. And that future self is not only retirement, it's any big purchase. It could be a house down payment, it could be education, it could be your kids' marriage, it could be their education, whatever it is, but you're basically planning for the future. A lot of people argue then, no, 20% is not going to make a difference. We are becoming very expensive. Have you seen the inflation? Have you seen the pricing? Blah, blah, blah. That's where the power of compounding comes in. Because even that 20% compounded over 10, 20 years will amount to a wildly huge number that you can't even fathom through your linear way of thinking. And that is just the start. Now, where's the problem? The problem is what I've often spoken about, the difference between the poor mindset and the rich mindset. Not the difference between richness and poverty, it's a mindset. The poor mindset is the following: the poor mindset says, life is hard, so I will earn money. I will then spend it on the things that I want to spend on or have to spend on. And then, if there is money left, I will invest. So, investment becomes a choice, and not a choice that people want to actively make. It's almost like health. I am busy. I have this lovely busy life and I have friends and blah, blah, blah. If I have time left, I will consider health. So it becomes a choice. But the rich mindset is the opposite. The rich mindset is I will earn, and before I do anything else, I will invest. And then whatever is left is what I have to manage in. And extrapolate that to the rich mindset with health, I will wake up and I will devote my time towards things that are most important for me when it comes to health. It could be meditation, could be working out, could be any physical form of activity. And then whatever time is left, I will ensure that I do the best of that in my day. But you pay yourself first before you start paying others. Like, why would you pay your landlord and the bank and Paytm and Zomato and Swiggy every money that you've so painstakingly earned and pay yourself the last if there is any money left? That just sounds so ridiculous to me. But this simple principle, whereas you pay yourself first, changes everything. And a good way of ensuring that is just start an SIP. Because just like a bank EMI, your money will get deducted every month. You wouldn't have to think about it, you don't have to plan it. It just gets deducted. And whatever is left is for you to spend and balance and budget.
That's amazing advice. We're talking about health and all. Like SIPs, like got a tracker and it deducts it naturally. I wish there could be an SIP on people's plate, right? So I tell a client, you can eat only 300 calories for lunch, and around 200 calories that you're taking of that biryani gets deposited in SIP and then gets converted to biryani. But do you use any health tracking app, any measurement, any blood test? Are there any things that you and your wife Ruchi do as a team from a health point of view?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there are a couple of things. One is we do a blood test and a complete blood work every 6 months, so that we're tracking the vitals, whether it's something as basic as cholesterol or anything else, which could be a red flag because we're also aging, so we want to make sure that we are ahead of the curve. We take in supplements that we've been advised, and these are not anything out of ordinary. So your usual vitamin D, your usually flax seeds or omega 3 and so on. And we also recently started a gut regime. So one of our friends, he started this with a scientist from Germany, where
Mac,
we yes, exactly. So Sova,
the
and I
Sova,
didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to say it because no, then it sounds like, oh, two people are just promoting something. But uh,
but it's
it's
a good test. It's a good test.
it is, and I can say I had for the longest time I had what I would call a weak gut, and now after 3 months, well, nearly 4 months of using it, I can see a huge change. My bowels. I was in fact telling Ruchi, I have not had
Better shit.
these these these
you're,
long these
you're doing
long
epic shit
vowels.
right
I'm
now.
actually doing epic shit in a way that it's just bizarre. Like my bowels don't flush down. They're so long now, and so one piece that it's crazy. And we're speaking about this on a public podcast,
No,
but
but I guess government of India won't shut us down because we're not being vulgar. We're talking about bowel movement, people. If you're watching this podcast and just tuning in, we're talking about the digestive tract of Ankur and Ryan Fernando giving endorsement that shit is a natural byproduct of eating, and there's something called the gut microbiome, which ferments your food and converts it to shit. And your shit can be good shit and your shit can be bad shit. When you eat good food, you get good shit. When you eat bad food, you get bad shit. So, for context, for anyone joining us and tuning in right now.
So yeah, that's very simple. Not anything overcomplicated. No biohacking, not as yet.
What I would recommend to you and Ruchi would be to get a nice weighing scale which has muscle percentage and fat percentage in it,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
as you're
Sorry, we
growing
have that.
old,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So as you're growing old, I remember reading this paper talking about muscle is the only age reversible organ, and once men start hitting 50, women start moving towards menopause. A loaded training, which is resistance training, will load the muscle, cause stem cells to be released, growth hormone to come out, and you can still grow muscle into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. Unfortunately, people do exercises, but body weight is not sufficient enough to load the muscle for breaking it down to get growth. But anyway, coming back to you, any exercise wearable or any sleep trackers that you use?
I just use a very simple smartwatch. It's a Fitbit. I track all of my food, all of it. So I'm obsessed with reading the labels of food, and I like the fact that our kids have also got obsessed reading it. So while they will make a few allowances here and there,
How do you
but
do that? Because this is a brilliant point. We can't beat Zomatos and Swiggies of the world and Netflix of the world to make children sleep lesser or eat junk food. But what we can do as parents is lead by example. So tell me a few samples of what you do with your Vidur and Uzma, right?
Vidur and Uzma, yes. So 13 and 7. Vidur is 13 and Uzma is 7. How old are your kids, Ryan?
I have one child, he's Icon and he's 11 years old. And nowadays kids, they're like, Papa, you can't have that. There's too much of sugar. You're getting a small paunch. So I'm like, dude, your children call you out in parties.
I know exactly, exactly. I love that. So there were three phases, if I may say so. Phase number one was just be aware. So you don't have to restrain, you don't have to even make choices, but just be aware of what you're putting inside your body. And I think at that age, that's the best we can do. So we just encourage them that read the label and start making sense, and don't just go at the calorie level. Do the sugar, do the carb, do the fat, do the protein. At least do the macros. The micros will take care of them later. So that was, I think, about a 6 to 12 month exercise, but we just encouraged them to do that. And we also told them, which was very interesting, that wherever you're eating something where the label is not there, should be by default a no.
Ah,
Because why would you, like, would you ever watch a movie without a trailer, or without who are the actors, without any rating, without any reviews? No. Would you ever pick up a book without a cover or a back or a blurb about the book? No. So why would you just dump shit in your body without any awareness of what that is? And of course, when I say this, it's not 100% there. We'll have our occasional roadside samosa or pav, vada pav or something, but by and large. Then the
Ankur, what?
second phase, sorry.
Sorry. Second phase. You go on, and then I'll come in.
Yeah, so and then the second phase was more about how do these things impact? Because right now it's just observation. So how do these things, like, what is the meaning of calorie, and why is higher calorie bad? No. Is lower calorie good? No. It's simply the calorie intake. It's a measurement of heat. Right? So whatever you intake, whatever you spend, and the imbalance. It's thermodynamics at the end of it. Our body is a incredibly powerful heat engine, and it does its job well because it needs all that to do. So the second phase was more about, high sugar is not good, and here's the reason why. So lots of videos and so on. High protein is usually good. High fat may not always be good, but there are various ways of fat. There is good fat, there's bad fat, blah blah blah. So things like that. And now we're in that third phase, at least for Vidur, not so much for Rosna, where he's taking active choices. So he also has this nice thing where he has his breakfast. His school provides breakfast and lunch, but his school breakfast was usually, bread pakoda and some chole bhature, and usually that fried stuff, parathe, blah blah blah. And he consciously said, no, I want to move to muesli and Greek yogurt, and I want to add a little bit of honey to do that. And we actually calculated what it will amount to, and we have a kitchen weighing scale. So everything that goes in gets, whether, like, even the kishmish that we're adding, we're like, okay, only 6 grams of it, because we have to have at least we want to have a good sense of how much we're
Ankur,
putting
that's
in.
something really beautiful, and I have to compliment you on that because we are taught to eat out of love and culture, we're never taught to eat out of science.
Yeah.
And by
Yes.
doing the measurement, portion control, we actually teach our children that less could be more.
Yes, yes, exactly. No, it is, Ryan, it is, and I don't need to tell you this, but for everyone who's listening in, it is our body, and I've witnessed this with my own life. For the first 32 years of my life, abused my body when it came to food. Uh, exactly. Like, eat food because of love and culture. So every mom is like, "Arey, itna patla ho gaya hai, itna dubla, tum kuch khate nahi ho," etc. And they do it out of love. So ghee, paranthas, and whatnot, and jam, and bread, and butter, and everything, which we didn't even stop to think how it's affecting us or whether or not. And then I went through this transformation nearly 12 years back where I just figured, and what has amazed me the most, Ryan, is how responsive and obedient our body is to what we ask it to do. It's like literally in 2 weeks, you can change who you are from a dietary perspective. It's so bizarre. It's almost like it's a switch. And it all comes down to your willingness to do it. Because the
And
body is like, you tell me what to do, I'll do it.
and 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 if I can take a dig and pun at all the finance guys, even your stock market, which gives you one of the best returns, can't sometimes turn around in 2 weeks, but your body can.
Can. That's so well said. And very, very relevant for today's times.
We were talking about the kids, and our kids are going to grow up, right? And today's the youngest generation is the Gen Zs. A lot of them work with me here in this office and stuff like that. And I love working with them. And I come from an older generation. Like I'm going to be 50 this year, and I have to seismically shift. So I've got people who are in Gen Z, and then I have my kid and your kids who are going to grow up, right? And they're coming into an AI world, a world of experiences versus hard work, right? And we see these two worlds clashing,
Yeah.
the sense of values and everything. So the Gen Z is saying spend more specifically on experiences like travel and eating out and fashion, and save less. We don't know where we are going to live tomorrow. And I'm trying to teach my young son look, dude, you put 100 rupees today every month, right? At the end of the year, you're not going to have 1,200 rupees. You're going to get this interest. And he's still 11 years of age, but he's good at math. So
Yeah.
he's like, what if I put 1,000 rupees? I'm like, where are you going to get 1,000 rupees from? It's like, you're going to give me 1,000 rupees, right? So that's the problem. They're getting the money very easily. So what's your advice? Because you've done it as an entrepreneur, you've lived and studied abroad, you've married your childhood sweetheart, you have two beautiful children, created a lot of businesses, wrote one of the best sellers possible ever to mankind, doing epic shit whilst analyzing your shit also. What's your advice, Mr. Shit Guru?
I, my advice is that it should, it's one of those things that we were discussing. I would mandate kids from the age of 15 to start working in jobs. No, we look down upon child labor because, of course, it is not something that people do out of their will. But I do believe that kids, even if they are not adults, should out of will start working to recognize how easy or hard it is to make money. So here's what we did with Vidur, and it's worked really well. He's 13, as I said. At 10, in our colony, there's an annual Diwali Mela, and there are these stalls that people put up. And Vidur wanted to put a stall, and I was like, well, that could be a great way for him to learn the value of money and so on. So for 3 years, we've been running that stall, and there were three things that I wanted to teach him. One is revenue, second is cost, and third is profit, which are the fundamentals of business. So the first step, we just focused on revenue. I was like, you know what, go and sell, and just figure out how does pricing work. Figure out what do people buy. Figure out why do they buy it at the price that they buy. Blah blah blah. He did that.
What were the items that was there in the first year in the Diwali store?
So the first mela that he made, sorry, the stall that he put up was beer pong, where you drop a ball inside the red cup, exactly the same, but instead of course, beer in it and so on, there are numbers on each of those mugs. So there are 10 mugs, and 1 to 10 is numbered, and you get three chances, and you basically add up the numbers in which you put in those balls. So let's say you put your ball in 7, 6, and 2, so you get 7 plus 6 plus 2. And depending on that score, the higher it is, the more prizes you get. And the prizes were like, you would get no, a chocolate bar, or you will get a nut bar, or you will get
I
some
think as a father, you didn't mind if you lost money, but your son was learning the art of money at a start.
absolutely, absolutely. Like and this year, which was the profit year, or rather last year, 2024 October November, when we did that, his goal was to make a profit,
Did he start
and he
hounding you in
made a
July
profit.
itself?
Say that again.
Did he start hounding you much before Diwali that you have to do
Oh,
something?
yeah, he was like, what game are we making? What price will it be? And this year, last year itself, I taught him Excel and how to build that business model. He did that this year, and he made that entire plan. He knew how many prizes to buy, what was the price of that, what should he price to make a profit, and so on. And this year, he made, I think, a profit of 12,800 rupees, which is crazy for a 13-year-old.
I think you're walking
And
around this Diwali party knowing that you won the card party basically. You could have lost money in the card party, but your son made money, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And this was the best part, and I loved him for that idea. He said, "Why don't we make it so crazy that people can't say no?" And like, what do you mean by that? He's like,
One second, this is a 13-year-old kid.
"This is a 13-year-old cool. He's very smart for his age, so certainly not got it from us." He's like, "Papa, it's impossible to put three balls consecutively in glass number 10 because होएगा ही नहीं, like however good the person is, what are the odds? So what if you know, you have your iPhone, the 16 that you use, you have the case for that. I'll put some stones in it, and we'll make it look like this is an actual iPhone, and we'll put it on the stall, and we'll say, if you get 30, you win the iPhone 16. And I was like, do you intend to give it if you win it? He's like, yes, I have the money for giving it if we have to give it, but I'm very sure we won't have to give it. But what it will do is it will get everyone to come and play, because in 30 rupees they get a chance to win an iPhone 16. And that actually became the hit of the
I
mela,
can
where
see where
people
he
are
gets
like,
risk element. Huh? He gets it from his father.
so I clearly, I was like, bro, you can lose all the money you've ever saved in your life in just one go. Like, hoega hi nahi, papa, hoega hi nahi. Like, nobody's going to do it.
By
I
the way,
have done it so many
I
times.
want to share something with you. In our clinic, we do DNA testing,
Okay.
and there are a few genes for gambling as a risk and confidence.
Really?
So for example, I have a very low confidence gene and a very high gambling risk.
Wow.
And whoever have been entrepreneurs and come to my clinic and done the gene mapping, they Ankur all have high gambling risk. So look at it this way. You think of gambling as gambling with money, but business is also a massive gamble. And this is clear indication in terms of the environment that somewhere in him, there's a huge element of being able to gamble.
That is so crazy. That
So,
is so crazy. I, I, I really want to do this test now.
but the advice now is one you're teaching your children, right? But there's an gambling element risk here. But we talked about Gen Z wanting to spend more. So here's your kid, like by paisa feko. What are the chances? So we also have to teach them a little bit of security, moderation, save for a rainy day. So what are any stories of a flip point to learning about the risk element and going all out, and then on the other side, save for a rainy day?
Oh, the same way. I think his what I love about Vidur, and now to some extent Uzma, when she sees her elder brother, is keep slightly small amounts of money for just your normal things, because we frankly just pay for everything that we have to, and just keep investing everything. Keep investing everything. So Vidur today has a portfolio of nearly 2.7 lakhs, and this is all money that he's invested in the last 5 years, and his goal is that when I touch 18, I should be at a point where you may still fund my education, but I can just fund my livelihood, whether through a job or through the money that I've saved. And we've been very clear with him. We said, if you go to college, because the one thing which at least I am also realizing Ruchi is still not completely on par with me is
And education is going to be dead with AI.
no, I really feel so. I think Vidur may go to college, but I'm very certain that Uzma will not. And I'm very certain she wouldn't even need to. Because in 10 years, education is just going to go through a massive change, Ryan. It will just completely be obliterated the way that it is done right now, which is the classroom teaching, a teacher.
I predict you'll have the epic shit university. Too epic shit. Because this is so relevant to today's generation. So relevant. I mean, this is amazing. Huh? This is one of the coolest, chillest podcasts. I've got a script over here. I can throw it out right now. Okay, but let's talk about money and saving because you're teaching your kids correctly and all of that stuff. You work out. You got health in your life. Um, I work with people who fall sick. Look, I do this cricketers, I do the film stars. That's the vanity. They have money and therefore they take care of their bodies. Then we have the other part, which is the pain part. People who fall sick and they're straddled. Like just today, I got a message from a gentleman in Kolkata says, "Do you know anybody in CMC Vellore? There's a poor family. They can't afford the healthcare in Kolkata. Can you, because CMC Vellore has got a lot of funding. It's an institute which takes care of very downtrodden people." So that got me thinking, right? From a money perspective, there are a lot of people who watch podcasts and are able to get out of that shackles of changing the life 50, 30, 20 rule that you're talking about, right? But there are people who don't even have enough of 50 to even save, correct? So how much should people in India save for medical emergencies? Because look, I tell them, take care of your health, you won't need to go to a hospital. But there are people who are not in that boat. So as a financial expert, I would say to you, what are the benchmark rules to save for medical contingencies and stuff like that? Or insurance policies if you promote.
Exactly. No, I do promote insurance in a huge way. I do believe that it's one of the best investments you can make, both medical and life insurance, because these two are the most unpredictable things in life. And if they were to happen, they can frankly cause a financial disaster beyond the emotional disaster that you will have to go through. Health insurance, the benchmarks are fairly clear. If you are wherever city you're staying in, whichever city you have access to medical infrastructure, or it could be a city that you think you will have to go to if you do, unfortunately, God forbid, fall sick, figure out what the daily rate of a hospital bed is in that city on an average, or perhaps the hospital that you are at. So let's pick a number. Let's say it's 10,000 rupees per night, which is fairly low for a tier one, but maybe for tier two, tier three cities, it's reasonable. For anybody who's less than 40 years, they should account for about 20 to 25 days per year of hospitalization. Now, that's not wishing that they go through it, but
So how do you
that is what
calculate
you
that?
should
I'm a
plan
little
for.
I'm a little confused. It means if I earn 1,000 rupees a day and therefore I earn 30,000 rupees a month, that means 25,000 rupees a year I've got to keep aside, is what you're
Yes.
saying?
No, you have to keep 25 days of the hospitalization rate in your city,
Arre bapre.
which which would be 2.5 lakh rupees, and there is no way that you can set aside 2.5 lakh rupees. So the only thing that you do is you buy a insurance with a cover of 2.5 lakh rupees, which will come for much cheaper, because that 2.5 lakh rupees cover will come to you for about 4 or 5 thousand rupees a year. But in that amount, you will safeguard your health insurance to that amount.
You know, a lot of young people in my team, when I say that, look, we're going to cover you, we're going to cover your parents, for many years I've had to fight them. They say we don't want the cover. We're not going to fall sick. And in the bigger companies, the Fortune 500 companies, the big Indian conglomerates, you don't have a choice. You can't argue with HR. They put it on you. But on small companies like mine, which are just about 200 people, or people have 10, 50, 100 employees, the employees keep saying, don't do the deduction. Just give me the money. Give me the 5,000 rupees. I'll go to Goa in my hometown and, celebrate with the 5,000 rupees. Are there instances where you've seen that this has saved families?
No, it is crazy, Ryan, how many cases. Like we have a team of just 25 people, and within 25 people, we have so many cases where people have come back and says, I did not understand the value of this health insurance until I needed it. And I was like, you know what? That's why we're glad this is mandatory. It's not optional. It is part of your CDC. It's money that the company will spend on you, and you have no choice of whether it is spent on you or not, because it covers your parents, it covers you, and you will only know the reality and the benefit of this when you truly need it. So there's no way that we are compromising on that.
That's great advice, because as of sometimes, when we are founders, we want to listen to the younger generation, but we need to take a stance saying that, like, how parents sometimes, like, I remember as an 18 years old, I would want to go out with all my friends going partying out, and my mother, like, you have to come back at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like,
Right.
Mom, I'm already 18 years old. Can't I come back at 1? You will come home. I am the mother. As long as you stay in my house, you come home at the time I tell you. So I think
Right.
sometimes you got to take that stance with taking care of the people that we love.
No, you absolutely have to. You absolutely have to.
You're on social media, and in today's world, I think social media is everything. Even with me now, I, I go to places and people are like, sir, YouTube, you are YouTube nutrition. I'm like, dude, I'm a nutritionist, then I'm a YouTuber. But okay, fine, you can't convince people that you have a nutrition clinic, you do diet counseling. uh, but even I, when I'm watching news or TV or media, I'm on my phone and I'm not looking at my social media channel. I'm just entertained. So, do you think there's going to be an evolution of social media where people are actually going to be doing like digital detoxes, or we are going to get even more sick as a society in FOMO, fear of missing out? Like, I need to see that post, I need to swipe that post, or like mine, everybody's becoming a influencer, a podcaster, or an author, and so everyone's fighting for this social media. What do you say? Um, what's the word? You're fighting for the brain time awareness,
Yeah, yeah.
between
Mindspace. Yeah.
Ankur's channel and Ryan Fernando's channel, and the recent controversial comedians that are doing all of this stuff. You can't beat that any days. But what's your take?
I have a dark and a hopeful take on this. My dark take is the future of content consumption is that of becoming highly personalized, extremely personalized. And what that means is today, you, Ryan, would see content that somebody has created, not for you, but they just created it and put it in the universe, and you encounter it. You may like it, you may not like it, and you make that choice. But that means that there are choices that you're making of what you want to see and what you don't want to see. But there will be very soon a time where every piece of content that you're consuming will be loved by you because it will be designed and created for you on the fly by nobody but a machine. So somebody will really own your thought and be like, Ryan, in this mood, because you have a watch on and you will have sensors all around you and you will have a robot in front of you that can gauge your emotions, will be able to tell that Ryan, right now is tired. He doesn't need any intellectual stuff. He just needs entertainment, and serve him some nice, happy entertainment that we know works for him. And it'll be just created on the fly, and you will be addicted. We will all be hooked. The question is, what will we be hooked on? So, the hopeful side of this is not that, oh my God, the world will just collapse into this complete disarray where everyone will become zombies and just be on their phones perpetually. It will mean that somebody who wants to take ownership of their life will get precisely that whenever they want it, wherever they want it. So if somebody needs that positive content that inspires them, that uplifts them, and they want to do something about that, they will get that in that moment. They wouldn't have to dig through shit and noise to figure it out. It will be served on a platter. So I do believe that the future of content is the most democratic process that the world would have ever seen has ever happened, where everyone will be served what they want, and there'll be zero layers of abstraction between the rich and the poor, the famous and the not knowns. Everybody will have access to the richest content producing engine, and they will consume whatever they want to consume.
Wow, that's both wonderful and scary at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it oh, we could talk for 2 or 3 hours just on this
Yeah,
one
I know.
point.
It's like we could go on and on double clicking on this. It's just
So
crazy.
that's the future we are going to head to. Maybe with it's a podcast for another day. But let me rewind. If you had, I always ask my guests this question: if you stepped into a time capsule and we could travel back in time, and if you had to start all over again and build everything from scratch, what would you not do this time based on your time capsule travel? Because you're able to see what were your hiccups, what were your stumbling stones, what were your mistakes.
I think what I've done with my current startup, which is WebVeda, is precisely that. I have built a startup which is dramatically and diametrically opposite to what I've done in the past 15 years of building startups. So I've, like you, not raised any money because I saw what happens when people raise money, and I also raised a lot of money. I've built a fully remote team. While for the first 15 years, I thrived on having an office and a really cool setup and a place where people could vibe together and so on. I've built a completely async environment of working where we don't have any meetings in the company. While there was a time I used to feel proud of the fact that my day is jam packed with meetings back to back to back to back. I have no ESOPs or equity granted in the company, and everything is profit sharing. While I thrived on the fact that employees in my company were paper millionaires because they had stock options worth millions, but they didn't amount to anything because the company couldn't do anything about the stock options. So everything that I felt in my past was, I wish I hadn't done it. I thankfully corrected it in this current avatar, and I can see such a huge difference in how I see my own startup. The startup is flourishing, the employees see the startup, and it's such a different way that if you ask me 10 years back to believe in the things that I believe today, I would be like, no way that it's working. No way that it is going to be successful.
Your book has influenced me. So I would say this is probably your best book ever written. But if you had to take your best book or any other people's best books, what would you choose that have influenced you?
There are three books that have really helped me a lot in life. One is a book called Rework. I would highly encourage you to read the book if you haven't. It's a relook at work and the definition of it. It's fascinating. The second one is, in my opinion, the Bible for all startup founders. It's called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. It basically says that startup is not as glamorous as it looks. It's an intensely hard journey. It's very difficult. You have to be ready to embrace all the ups and downs that's going to come your way. And it's just the hard reality of what it is. And the third book, which is a very underrated book, not very popular in usual book culture, if you will, is this book called Atma Man. And it's a book by Dr. Kapil Gupta, who is a philosopher and a coach. And it's a book that really changed the way that I look at my life and how I would like to look at my life, which has been a revelation. So these three books, highly recommended.
Awesome. Coming to the last part of the podcast, I have to ask you five quick rapid fire questions. I don't know why my
Please.
media team makes somebody who says do epic shit answer rapid fire, but I got to ask you the rapid fire. Three bad money habits that will hold you back from becoming rich.
Oh, not having any sense of where you're spending your money, not having any asset ownership or anything that makes you money, and not having a long term view on building money, but being impatient about building money.
Ideal age, ideal age to buy health insurance.
25 plus.
Ideal age to start working out.
Ooh, I would say start working out at 18, or even earlier if you want to. If you build that habit and that discipline, you're going to thank yourself for life.
Going back in a time capsule, ideal time to do your first blood test.
I think around 25 would be a good time.
That's a good marker. I would say 22 in today's day and age, because a lot of kids exit home and they
Yeah.
move into the corporate cities and they're eating outside food. So the nutritional factor of outside food 21 to 25 is not really great. Plus you're young, you feel you're indestructible, so you eat any junk, party till late, sleep, deprivation,
Yes.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, should a person take Ryan Fernando's employee provided health insurance, or should they take their personal health insurance?
Both. Because if you're in a corporate health insurance plan, it actually comes with a lot more benefits. But the day you leave the company, that insurance plan lapses. So you should always have both, where you could also club them together if the expense is really high, should you be hospitalized. And the one that you personally have will continue forever, because something in insurance is called PEDs, or pre existing diseases. So if you have a PED or a pre-existing disease, or most likely your parents have it, there is a time period that you need to spend with that insurance for you to be eligible for any PED insurance claim. And if the insurance lapses, that time resets itself. So you don't want to be caught in, maybe your parents' diabetes or anything else resetting itself every time you change companies.
Individual health insurance or a family plan?
Health insurance becomes really cheap with the age of the oldest member. So, as soon as your parents become senior citizens, it will become prohibitively expensive for you if you're also part of the plan. So, my suggestion, have one plan for you and your immediate family, that would be your spouse and your kids, and have one plan for your parents. That's the idea.
Awesome. Three most common reasons for claims in health insurance. The rejections that happen.
You lied, so you're smoking, drinking, but you said, no, you're not. Two, you bought an insurance, and this is ridiculous how many times it happens. You bought an insurance very close to when you knew you would need it. So the company is like, look, we're not fools. We've been doing it for 24/7 years. So we know what you're up to. And number three, that you will produce fake bills, or inflate the price at which you were actually getting that treatment.
In Christianity, we have this concept of godchildren. So if the parents die, the parents nominate godparents to take care of the children, right? So I have two godchilds, and should one's 18 and one's 27. Should I be buying them a health insurance as a gift, or that's not possible? Or is it better to gift them? Is it better to gift them something like an SIP which encourages them?
Yes, I would say that. Like, I was about to say that. I think insurance should be a personal adult choice to make, but as a godparent, you should certainly gift them the joy of investing, and get them hooked onto that.
Awesome. Final question, Ankur. You become, for 1 month, the leader of the world, or let's say the leader of India, and not from a political affiliation,
Sure.
for the good of 1.4 billion people, and you are given absolute authority to help the world become a better place, because I genuinely believe we 1.4 democratic Indians do not know how to take care of ourselves also. What is it that you would do? And I'm not going to limit the number, I'm not going to limit the time, but what would you do if you could be like, okay, Mr. AI, this is what I would like for India, and this is what I need you to do for the next 30 days.
Well, 30 days, I think is too short a period to make any change, but
Okay,
hmm,
let's say
I
let's
would.
say a year.
No, I get the drift of it. I I would, if I'm a dictator, and I love that because it's not a democracy in that sense. So I'll give no choice to people. Here's what I will do. I would say everybody in the country needs to do at least 2 years of public service, because that really humbles you, and shows you the ground reality of how the country functions. I would create very strong tax incentives for people who are healthy, because that just has a really lovely downstream impact on how the country's expenses also go. I will bring everyone under a tax regime, not just the salaried individuals, but everyone. And the tax rates will, of course, differ, but from very low to whatever is the high for the rich class and so on. I would actually create a system where kids can start earning at the age of 15, which is something that we referred to earlier as well, because I do believe that teaches them a lot about money and about adulting. And just like it's mandatory to have a car insurance, I will make it mandatory for people to have a SIP, irrespective of the amount.
Ankur Warikoo, I've had goosebumps today. I want to take one more page from the book before we leave, and I'm going to leave it to the universe to tell me what I'm going to read from that book. Okay, so this is going
Ooh.
to be a random flip, and I'm going to open it, and then you're going to tell me what were you thinking when you wrote that. Not, this is a good one. Not making a decision because you are scared of making the wrong decision. If you don't move, you would have already made the wrong decision.
Yes. This is no, it's the story of my life, Ryan. I think the reason I'm here is because I have always thrived on moving forward. And I have always felt that not taking a decision is actually the worst decision that anybody can take. Because if you take a decision, you will either see it succeed, in which case you'll only thank yourself, or you'll see it not succeed, in which case you'll know what doesn't work and you'll make another decision, another decision, another decision. But the most dangerous people in the world are the ones who are sitting and don't want to make any decision. They are the most dangerous people in the world, and I run away from those people as much as I can. So if that was me, I would have run away from myself.
Ankur, this has been an amazing session. One of the most chilled out podcasts. I regret not having done it in person, where you and I could have just laughed and laughed about poop and about doing epic shit. But I hope the next title is as hard hitting as this one and as sumptuous as this one. God bless you. I hope you have a very long life.
Thank you.
I hope you
Thank you.
get the chance to be implementing those amazing ideas of yours. We all have great destinies ahead of us. India is a great country as it progresses ahead. And I look forward to meeting you next time over a cup of green tea. I know you don't drink tea, you said it, but let me leave you with this thought. Research has shown that green tea has something known as epicogallocatechin in it, EGCG, which crosses it's the only antioxidant which crosses the eye barrier, thus preventing cataract. So my 77-year-old parents don't have cataract, whilst all their younger siblings have had some sort of cataract. Second, green tea contains a little bit amount of theanine in it, which activates the theta waves, unlike what caffeine does, which is blunts it
Got it.
with too much of caffeine.
Interesting.
So if I were you, I'd find the best Japanese or Assamese guru out there who plants a great green tea, and you and your better half have a cup of green tea every evening before 5 o'clock so it doesn't affect your sleep.
Lovely. I will take this advice to heart, and it gets implemented next month itself for sure.
Ankur, it's been
I
a
love it.
great session. Thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's been an absolute pleasure. And again, thank you for the work that you do. It really makes a difference. And I hope that there's never a hard day in your life where you're contemplating why you're doing what you're doing, because there are so many people who have to thank you for where they are in life.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much.
All the best. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for watching this far. It's been an amazing episode and I'm so grateful to have you till the end. If you like this video, please share this video with your loved ones. Better still, gift me a subscribe, a like, or even a comment and we'll come back to you.